If this book exists, you're in the wrong universe. Monday, August 22nd, 2:22 a.m. Vanilla gumballs. Collected, 5. John took us to the distressingly impractical computer setup in his living room. After a few failed attempts to get his gesture/voice command system to work, he eventually just had us gather around his laptop on the sofa. Joy actually made us wait so she could go up and change into our pajamas, as if she were settling in to watch a movie. When everyone was ready, I said, "Can you give me some hint as to what I'm about to watch here? When it was controlling us, did it make us put on a musical, or perform acts on each other?" Amy said, "I don't think so. The subscriber counts would have gone through the roof." John said, "No, it's actually weirder than that. So this recording is from about, let's say, 16 hours ago, when you guys first got here this morning. Before I play this, think about what's the last thing you remember from before we blacked out and found that we'd fed the magpie the bag full of teeth." I said, "I can barely remember what happened on the trip from the driveway to this room." "I had suggested feeding it a single tooth," said Amy, "just to see how it reacted. Then the egg howled, and I felt like an invisible dentist was drilling my eardrums. Then I think I asked you where you keep the teeth. You said you had them locked up. David said to destroy the egg. Then I started to say something, and my next memory is that everything was suddenly quiet, and I was standing across the room." John nodded. "Yeah, that's how it was for me too, more or less. We all agree that's about where the haunted toy took us over?" This seemed like a really important point to him. I said, "Sure." "Okay, I'm going to pick up the video right before that point. Here it goes." He clicked, and appearing on his screen was a fairly poor quality video of the three of us in John's garage. All three of us were holding our ears like there was a terrible noise, but nothing like that could be heard in the feed. I thought for a moment that maybe there was no audio at all, but then on the screen, Amy yelled to John, "Where are the teeth?" shouting to be heard over a noise that wasn't actually there. "Locked in my gun safe, in my bedroom," answered John in the video, also shouting for no reason. "I didn't know if something was going to come to life and crawl out of there looking for a snack. Want me to get them?" "No," I heard myself reply loudly. "Let's fucking destroy it." Amy said, "Wait, I think we should feed it one, to see if that calms it down." That sentence was new to me, so we were now in the period that none of us could remember. On the screen, John raced out of the room, presumably to get the teeth. Amy backed as far from the glass box as she could, as if the horrific howling wouldn't be quite so bad over there. So far, none of us seemed to be under the influence of mind control or anything else. We just seemed like ourselves, plugging our ears like we were impatiently waiting for someone to shut off a shrieking smoke alarm. I noticed that in the video, my hair looked like I'd spent the night in the belly of an anxious whale, and I involuntarily ran my hands through mine as I watched. On the screen, John returned to the garage, and I saw myself take the bag of teeth from him. He dug a key from his pocket and opened the padlock on the glass case. I watched myself yell, "Do you have a pair of tweezers or tongs or something? I don't want to touch the bloody teeth with my bare hands." On the screen, instead of getting tongs, John walked impatiently over to me like he was just going to reach in and grab a tooth from the bag, like I was being silly for not wanting a mutilated stranger's mouth juices on my fingers. Then, all three of us flinched and went to our knees. John clutched his ears like he was trying to keep his skull from splitting open. Amy tried to crawl toward the door to exit the room, but the pain of the egg's psychic shriek was apparently so debilitating that she couldn't manage it. I dropped the bag of teeth. We were reacting like the noise had increased 100-fold, though the room was, as before, completely silent. I then watched myself struggle to my feet and snatch the tooth bag from the floor, fighting to take steps as if I were giving a piggyback ride to an invisible child through an equally invisible ball pit. I stumbled over to the glass box, opened the end panel, and flung all the teeth inside, scattering them around the magpie. Just as we'd witnessed in the kennel, the plastic egg opened slightly along those zigzag seams. Then, those tiny strands emerged, like knotted whips of hair, snatching up the teeth from around it a few at a time, dragging them inside the plastic shell. I watched the version of me in the video recoil at the sight of the eating process and quickly step away, the empty bag in his, or my, hand. At that point, the noise must have stopped, because Amy and John both got to their feet, breathing hard, like they were trying to equalize the pressure in their skulls. Then we all seemed like we just spaced out for a moment. On the screen, I looked around and said, "What the fuck?" John stopped playing the video. After that point, it plays out as we remember it. I said, "Incredible. It took us over, but it made it undetectable to observers. It played a version of ourselves that's like 5% less competent." John nodded. "Exactly, but that 5% is important because it drops us below the crucial 20% competent threshold." Amy said, "I don't think it mind-controlled us at all. I think we just lost our memories." "Well, no," I said, "because I wouldn't have dumped all the teeth in there. I'd have given it one to see if that calmed it down, like you suggested. You give it the whole meal, you're starting the new feeding cycle, and we knew it was going to want something worse than teeth, so no." "I think you can say that because you're sitting here without the noise blasting in your head. Did you see how we were reacting in the video? That's debilitating pain there. Pain is a form of mind control. It's like how you can sit here all day and swear you'd never give up secrets under torture, but you don't know that until you're feeling it. I think if we had to do it again, if it happened right now, we'd probably do the same thing. Any of us." Without agreeing or disagreeing, I asked John, "What do you have for the 6 hours we were out this evening? Is it more of us acting like slapdicks?" "I can show the clips to you," said John, "but it's the same story. If you didn't know any better, you'd say it's just us being us, only worse. In our conversations, instead of working through ideas, we just make a bunch of dumb jokes and then get distracted. We apparently contacted the samurai and then just kind of waited. We hung out. We ate tuna salad sandwiches. We took care of some business stuff. Looks like Amy replied to a guy in the general inbox about selling one of the haunted dolls." "Exactly," said Amy. "That supports my theory. It's even kind of coming back to me. I remember the sandwiches being really good." John said, "I always butter the hell out of the bread. But then there's the final clip, recorded just before we left. Let me find it." For this one, the back door camera had activated when John passed under to enter the garage through the kitchen. He then returned holding his obsidian knife, and the following exchange occurred. John: "You could circumcise the thing with this blade." Me, off camera: "What thing?" John: "No, the thing, capital T, from Fantastic Four. Made of rocks?" Me: "Well, he wasn't made of rocks as a baby, so that's not saying much." John: "You could circumcise him as an adult, though you need a really sharp blade either way, so I feel like my point stands regardless. Who wants it? It's the only weapon I have small enough to be concealed. The next smallest is my revolver, and its barrel is 14 inches long." Amy, also off camera: "Is that going to work? I mean, will it be vulnerable to knives?" Me: "He didn't say. He just said that swallow will hatch. That can't be stopped. So I'm thinking we have to tell them whatever we have to, so that after they complete the feeding, we can deal with what comes out, before it can go on a rampage." John: "Well, I'm not giving them my tongue." Me: "He said they already have them." John: "I'm going to park the van as close as possible. I'll crank the stereo and shut it down. I have a remote starter on my keychain. All I have to do is hit the button from wherever we are, and the music will flood the space, loud enough that whatever emerges from that egg should wind up flat on its back." Me: "Then we can circumcise it." On screen, John walked out of the room, and the camera went back to sleep. I reached over and played the clip again, scrolling forward to the last words I'd spoken, beginning with, "He didn't say." I paused. "Who am I talking about there?" John said, "Exactly. You talked to someone or met with someone. Any memory of that?" "No." Amy said, "Could have been a call. Check your phone." I did. No calls during that time period. No text messages. No relevant email. John and Amy did the same, in case I'd borrowed one of their phones to do it. Nothing. Amy said, "But you can agree that we weren't being mind-controlled in that clip, right? That's just us being us." "Don't rub it in." So, at some point in the evening, I spoke to someone in person, but the cameras show no visitors at either door and don't show me ever leaving. And this person gave us advice that we all believed, and that advice was to, I guess, let them lock us in the goddamned kennel? Who would we trust with advice like that? Marconi? Amy said, How, if there's no call? You think he flew here, then climbed in through a window to tell you that? And only you? I got up and paced around the room, partly to think and partly to keep myself from falling asleep. Man, there's too much going on at once. I mean, if these blackouts weren't the monster manipulating us, and it seems like it didn't gain anything other than making us slightly more confused than usual, then what caused them? And what's it to keep them from happening in the future? Only this time, maybe we go forward days, or weeks, or months, continued John helpfully, or years. I said, wait, are we about to live out the plot of yet another Adam Sandler movie? I'm going home before we're forced to go back to elementary school and to earn an inheritance. I think you should sleep here, said John, and somebody should stay up to keep watch. Keep watch for what? The cult of nerd wizards whose plan we just ruined? Maybe they're all scared straight. Maybe they're not. Maybe the head wizard shows up with vengeance on his mind. I can take first watch. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. I'm sleeping on the sofa. If you have to thrash some dipshits, do it quietly.